Do you consider yourself a high achiever? Smart, driven, highly successful? I am so excited to have you. My name is Julia Arndt and I'm the host of the Stress Podcast. I will help you develop your stress resilience the same way you've developed your workplace superpowers. Learn peak performance tools to thrive at work and in your personal life. Let's get started. Hello, peak performer. Welcome back to the Stress Podcast. How are you today? I hope that you are taking a moment to just sit back and relax. Maybe you are listening to this podcast as you are driving down the road to an appointment or to a meeting or maybe to work. And maybe you've had a super stressful morning or a super stressful day, and you're taking this time for yourself in order to reflect a little bit and listen to something that hopefully helps you to grow in 2023. I am really excited to record this podcast episode today because it is the last podcast episode that I'm recording in 2022. It is December 29th this morning. And it is also the very first podcast episode for season number 5 of the Stressed Podcast. Yes, the Stressed Podcast is officially 4 years old. I recorded and published my first episode on January 1st, 2019. And it is really crazy to imagine that over the last 4 years, I recorded over 200 podcast episodes. And I've had amazing podcast guests. I've had a lot of reflections on this podcast. I shared a lot of personal insights and stories and learnings and growth insights with you, right? We went to the pandemic together, and I'm so grateful that you're here. I'm so grateful that you're listening to the podcast. I'm so grateful that you are investing this time in yourself in order to take some time to reflect, take some time to learn something new and to challenge yourself. So thank you so much for being here today with me. I am really excited, and I was obviously thinking about what kind of podcast episode can I record for you that is helpful for you at the start of the new year of January 2023. And, we've obviously talked about so many different things over the last 4 years. We talked about stress management and burnout and setting boundaries and time management. You know that those are my favorite topics to talk about. Obviously, self-care is another important one. And I think, as we are moving into 2023, the question is not really anymore how to achieve your goals, right? I think we all kind of actually know a lot of things about how to lose weight, how to become a regular gym member, how to better manage your time, how to set better boundaries. I think the how-to is pretty clear, but oftentimes the big question is, what is getting in the way of actually achieving our goals? What is getting in the way of doing the things that you set out to do? Because I think, especially as peak performers, all of us, you and me, myself included, we oftentimes set out to do certain things. We set goals and we are really ambitious, but sometimes it just doesn't work out for us, right? Sometimes just these different things are getting in the way. And so in today's podcast episode, I thought I'm going to sit down with you and talk with you about what is getting in the way. Let's take a moment to reflect what is getting in the way and what can you do when you actually start to realize, hey, these things are getting in the way, and then obviously how to overcome that. So that's what I want to spend my time on with you today. And I hope that you find this super helpful. I am also planning to do and host and facilitate my first masterclass in January of 2023 on this particular topic. So what is getting in the way of achieving your goals and your New Year's resolutions in 2023? So this is a little taster. And if you are curious to join me live and to ask some questions and to talk with other like-minded people about this topic, then I would really love for you to join me. I don't have any specific date yet for this, but if you are curious to learn more about it, why don't you just come over to my website or my Instagram account and either subscribe to my newsletter or send me a DM, and I'll make sure that you are on the newsletter so you get all of the different notifications for the masterclass as well. So that's all I wanted to share with you before jumping into this topic. And now I would say, let's talk about what is getting in the way to achieve your New Year's resolutions and goals in 2023. Hi, peak performer. Okay, let's jump in. As I already mentioned in the introduction, I want to talk with you about a super important topic today that I know we can all relate to. And honestly, the idea for this topic I got from the book that I was reading while I was on vacation for the last 4 weeks in Mexico. I read the book from Brené Brown, The Gifts of Imperfection, and she raised this question in her book. And it gave me a lot of food for thought, honestly. I thought about this question a lot over the last 4 weeks because it really resonated with me. She was talking about that we all know, she gave the example of the fitness goal, and it really resonated with me because I had a lot of fitness goals over the last 6 months, but there were just things getting in the way all the time. And so it really resonated with me when she was talking about, hey, we actually all know the how to. We all know, that we should get up in the morning and we should plan our schedule accordingly in order to make sure that we are bringing in 30 to 60 minutes of workout time. We know what we need to eat. We know what we need to do, but we still don't do it. And so the big question really is, what is getting in the way? And so I sat down and I created a list of things. I brainstormed a little bit. I actually started this brainstorming exercise on the plane ride back to California. And I was thinking about what is actually getting in the way? What is getting in the way of the goals? What is getting in the way of oftentimes, right, in a way, becoming a better person? And here are a couple of the things that I wrote down. So one thing that is getting in the way to achieve your goals is urgent tasks, right? We can all relate to this. We are working, we have a lot of things going on, and we are getting sidetracked and distracted all the time, right? Because we have people that are pinging us, we have emails coming in, and it's just so much easier to answer an email than to stay focused on a specific task that you have going on. And sometimes, let's be honest, it's also really difficult to know what is actually urgent, what is an emergency, and what requires our immediate attention, and what do we need to kind of blend out. What is a distraction, right? What is noise? But sometimes that's really difficult to do. So urgent tasks are definitely something that are getting in our way to achieve our goals, because then oftentimes with these urgent tasks, we're not really working on the important things. We're not working on the important projects that we had set out maybe to work on today. And then we are pushing, for example, that fitness goal, right? We're thinking, I really wanted to go and work out, but today I don't have the time because an urgent task came up, which pushed this other project. And then I didn't have time to actually go to the gym. That is one reason, right? Another one, and I already mentioned a couple of these, are these little noises and these little distractions that are happening to all of us all day long. Pings, emails, social media notifications, calls on our phone, messages from our family and friends. And I think especially when we are starting to get tired and when we are already maybe not feeling 100% motivated to do something, it is even easier to get distracted. And so I see this to me happening all the time. I am sitting there and I want to get something done. I am trying to tackle a big task and I get sidetracked. I take my phone and I scroll through social media, and I wanted to maybe look for something specific, but then I totally get sidetracked, right? I think this is happening to all of us all the time. We're getting sidetracked because, we are just, there's just noise, and there's just all of a sudden our attention is grabbed by another thing, by another reel, by another post, by something that somebody is saying, and we're getting sidetracked, and 10, 15, 20 minutes later we realize, oh, I've just been on this device for such a long period of time instead of focusing on the task at hand. But now the time has gone by, and maybe we have the next meeting or the next appointment, and we don't actually have time anymore to do the things that we set out to do. Can you relate to this? I'm sure you can. So last minute meetings, actually, this is another reason or another thing that is getting in the way, right? Last minute meetings. I think we can, again, all relate to this. Something is coming up, somebody needs our immediate attention, and we can't move it. So last minute meetings are getting in the way. Another thing that is getting in the way are family emergencies. I hear this at the moment, and I'm affected by this all the time. And I think we all are, because we are all human beings and we all have things going on in our lives. Kids need to be picked up from school. The husband, wife, mom, dad, auntie, uncle is sick. And so, we need to take care of these people, and we are not having time to take care of ourselves, right? Because then obviously that's kind of taking a back seat, and we are obviously jumping in to make sure that we're doing the things that we need to do at that specific moment in time. But it might not even be your family emergency, but it might be someone else's family emergency. I just got our bathroom remodeled here in our house in Lake Tahoe, and our bathroom guy had to leave California because his dad unfortunately passed away over the Christmas break. And with all of that, of course, all of a sudden things are getting delayed and postponed. And that's obviously totally okay, but it's just something that is happening to all of us. And sometimes we are immediately affected, and sometimes it is somebody else that is affected, but we are getting impacted by that as well. And then obviously things need to change and things need to move around. And so this is already a pretty good list. It's obviously not an exhaustive list, and I'm sure you can add a million other things to it. But here are a couple of other reasons. I'm just going to read this list now to you. Here are a couple of other reasons that are getting in the way to achieve your goals. Feeling exhausted and tired, feeling unmotivated, feeling sad, feeling hungry, feeling like watching TV and vegging out on the couch, feeling depressed, feeling anxious, feeling sick, feeling scared, feeling weak, feeling like eating chocolate, and feeling too fat. Because let's be honest, this is always a reason of why we're not doing the things that we set out to do. So feelings are getting in the way all the time to achieve your goals. Again, I am talking from my own experience of trying to get into a better workout rhythm over the last 6 months, but things just kept getting in the way. And if it wasn't really these external factors that got in the way, it was definitely the feelings that I had that got in the way. I didn't feel motivated enough. I didn't feel strong enough. All of these different reasons why it came up for me, and I noticed them, but they didn't really make me act in a different way. And it's really interesting and funny, because if you know me, or if you have been following me for a while, you know that working out and fitness is super, super important for me. But I go through these phases where sometimes I just have an amazing streak and I'm super active all the time. And 2022 was just incredibly busy for me, and there were just things that kept happening. And I know this might be an excuse, or it might be a real reason, right? But I've been traveling, and then I came back from travels and I was sick, or I was super busy and I had to take care of work, and I didn't feel like I could do these things. And I obviously didn't feel extremely motivated to get back into shape because I knew that I was out of shape, right? All of these different reasons are coming up. And then it just sometimes doesn't happen. The goal that we set out to do is just not happening, right? And it's super frustrating. And then the frustration adds up, and then we are not even, like, more and more time is passing by, and we are just not achieving the goals that we set out to do. And that's obviously not just related to any fitness goals, but to any goals that you are setting for yourself, right? So we are not alone in this. We are all human beings and we are all experiencing this, no matter in what area it is, right? For you, it might be building your business or focusing on a specific project at work, right? And for the other person, it is working on a specific skill set that you really wanted to set out to do, right? And sometimes there are just things that are coming to you easier at certain times in your life than other times. Like I said, right? Sometimes I am really good at my fitness and sometimes I'm not. What I'm usually pretty good at all the time is my work and my business, because that's super, super important for me. And I'm a super disciplined and very ambitious person and very professional person. And that's just super important for me. So, yes, sometimes I am prioritizing, of course, also work over my own health, right? This is the reason why in the first place I became a stress management coach, because I had to learn this the hard way, right? I always prioritized work and business before me. And so I have honestly found still really good ways to take care of myself. So even though I didn't work out the way I wanted to work out, I'm not burnt out and I'm not stressed out because I still went for a walk with my dog, or I still took time to stretch, or to have a little bit of a morning routine, or to journal. I'm still doing all of these different things. I'm really proud of that, because it's been a journey the last 4 years. And as much as you maybe who have been following me and listening to this podcast for so many years now, now I lost my train of thought. What did I want to say? Oh yeah, it's been a journey for me over the last 4 years, and I'm sure it's been for you the same thing too, right? Where I learned so many things in this process of becoming a coach and running my own business. And I'm sure it's been the same for you too. And I'm really proud for you. I'm really proud of you for that. So, pat yourself on the shoulder and just know that every day is a new day to start again. And that is one of the things that I keep telling myself. And it's a really important thing to keep in mind when you are starting to recognize that there are just things getting in your way all the time to achieve the goals that you set out to do. So let's take a moment to think about, okay, so now that you have realized and recognized that there are just things that are getting in the way. Sometimes it's an excuse, right? Sometimes it's a feeling or a thought that's keeping us from actually taking action on the things that we've always wanted to do. And sometimes it's external factors that we already discussed as well. So, what do you do when things are getting in the way? And that's a super important question, right? And this is the question why we are sitting down today and why I'm recording this podcast and why you are listening to this podcast. What can you do when things are getting in the way? And there's a really cool little acronym that's called STOP that has really helped me and my clients to realize when things like that happen. Let me explain. So STOP stands for the following. STOP, S for stop, which is obviously clear, right? What do we need to do? We need to stop in our tracks. We need to start recognizing that something is getting in the way. Step number 2 is T, right? In STOP, T stands for take a breath. Because sometimes we are just so gripping onto certain things and it's not the right thing to do. So we need to relax and recognize that, we are maybe in a very stressful situation. So we're taking a breath to bring oxygen back to our cells and to signal to our parasympathetic nervous system that everything is okay and that we don't need to be in this fight or flight state right now. Step number 3 is then O, which is observe. So we are observing, we are recognizing, we're building that awareness of, hey, something is getting in the way. Is it a feeling? Is it a thought? Or is it an actual emergency, right? We are observing. And what is really beautiful about that observation phase, even if it's just a few seconds or a few minutes that you're taking, is that now it builds this gap and that space to make a decision and to proceed, which is the last part, step number 4, and the P in STOP stands for proceed, is to really, have maybe a clearer plan on or a better idea on what you can do next. And I really love this. There's this really popular quote from Viktor Frankl, who wrote the book The Man's Search for Meaning. And he says, now I'm obviously not getting it together. Let me pull it up. Because I'm sitting in front of my computer right now. Why do I not just pull it up? He says everything. No, that's not the quote that I was mentioning. Viktor Frankl quotes on meaning. Yes, here it is. He says, between stimulus and response, there's a space. In that space is our power to choose our response, and in our response lies our growth and our freedom. And this is what I think about when I'm talking about observing or having that space for observation, because that is really, really important in order to start recognizing, okay, what is actually getting in the way to achieve my goal? What is getting in the way of taking that first step? What is getting in the way maybe to stick to the plan that you had set out to do and you were so sure about doing, right? What is getting in the way? And sometimes there are these external factors that we cannot influence, right? Especially when we're talking about emergencies, no matter if it is your family that is directly impacted or someone else's family that then obviously has an impact and influence on you. And sometimes it is an excuse or a feeling. And I think that is really where we need to make that separation and where we need to find that difference between, am I just coming up with excuses like I have oftentimes over the last 6 months when it came to my fitness goals? Has it just been an excuse and a feeling? Or is it something that's really happening from the external world? And so that is an important part to recognize, right? Is it something that I can influence? Is it a feeling that I need to work through? Is it, maybe a skill that I can learn? Maybe it is about setting better boundaries, managing my time better, and so on, right? Or is it really something that in this moment in time, I can't influence, right? It's out of my control. So that is really what I want you to think about when you are thinking about what is getting in the way of achieving my goals and how can I actually start achieving my goals. Here's another reason why we are oftentimes not achieving our goals that I haven't really mentioned yet, but it just came up for me as I'm talking here through this with you. It is that we are setting too ambitious goals, not realistic goals. We think we can start going to the gym 5 times a week and it's just not realistic. Or we think we can create time management habits without any external help, right? Sometimes we need to get help. Sometimes we need to take a course, or we need to talk to a coach, or we need to speak to a therapist in order to work through certain things. So that is an important question to ask yourself as well. Can I get help with this? Do I need some accountability that is actually helping me to achieve this goal that I have for 2023? Do I need more information? Do I need to learn something in order to set myself up better for success? Or do I need to just create a better, more realistic goal? And do I just need to get started and take action? Okay, so let me summarize this. So obviously we talked about a lot of different reasons of what is getting in the way of achieving your goals. And then I introduced you to what I call the acronym STOP, which stands for stop, take a breath, observe, proceed. Super, super easy. I actually love to even just write this acronym on a piece of paper or a little post-it note and stick it maybe somewhere where I can see it, where it's relevant for me. So I know, hey, I always have this moment at any point in time, no matter where I am, no matter if you are sitting in front of your computer or you're driving in the car or you're walking around and you're thinking about certain things, you always have that for you. You always have that possibility to take a moment to pause and to stop and to take a breath, to observe what is going on, to recognize maybe, the path that you're always going down to when you are trying to achieve that goal or when you're trying to take action, and then you can proceed. And this is so beautiful. This is so powerful. This is so important that you know that this is always available for you, because sometimes we forget that it is available for us. And then we feel maybe inactive, or we feel we don't have the right tools in place, or we just feel powerless. That's the word I was looking for. And maybe powerless sometimes even turns into hopeless. So, my dear peak performer, know that there is always a chance. There's always time, even just a few seconds, to stop and to recognize what is getting in the way of achieving my goals in 2023. A lot of people nowadays, and if you're following other coaches and other people or read books about all of these different things, a lot of people nowadays talk about micro goals, right? Setting really, really small goals in order to achieve what you set out to do. Make sure that they are smart, right? Specific, measurable, realistic, timely, and what did I forget? SMART, realistic, timely, achievable. Yeah, I think we talked about all of them, but anyway. So all of these different things are super, super important. That you know that these are available for you, and then you can, proceed. Now that you have more information, that you have more awareness, which is honestly the most important step when you're starting to try and make changes in your life, when you're starting to work on your goals, is to have awareness, because without awareness, there's no action. And without awareness, you're not going to start actually changing the rewiring process in your brain. This is actually so, so important. So awareness is the very first step that actually already helps you to start rewiring your brain and start to create new ways on how to do things differently, right? To be maybe more healthy and to be more mindful about which kind of boundaries you're setting, but it requires awareness. So once you are aware of it, usually, it is the thought or the feeling or an event, right? You recognize what is the type of thing that is holding you back from achieving that goal. Then you can think about, what are my options now? So what are you going to do, right? Are you going to maybe have that feeling keep you from going forward? Or are you going to push through that feeling? Are you going to maybe feel unmotivated? Or are you going to feel a little sad or depressed or tired or exhausted and so on? But you're going to do it anyway, because you know that tomorrow is not going to be different. And maybe even 10 minutes today will start to kind of start that chain of doing things differently. This is something that's been really helpful for me. And, I tell myself, even if I just get to the gym or if I do something active once this week, it is better than having zero in my visual bank account. So this is something that's been really helping me to take that first step and to motivate myself, or to do like a little workout video at home on YouTube, right? All of these different things help to create momentum, and momentum is so, so important. Oftentimes we think we need to have the motivation first, and once we have the motivation, then we can get into action. But oftentimes, and actually honestly always, it is the other way around. You need to just create that momentum by taking the first step, by taking action, and then you start to feel good about yourself, and then you are more motivated to do that again and again and again. So strive for progress, not for perfection. Strive for a micro improvement, not for the best way possible, because that is really how you're starting to get into a better rhythm over the course of time. So I hope that triggered something in you today that makes you think, okay, I can actually do this. I am more equipped now to know when things are getting in the way to achieve my goals. And I know that I have that stop available to me in order to move forward. And then, you are actually starting to achieve your goals. As you know, there are so many different YouTube videos on my YouTube channel in order to help you with goal setting, with, setting goals for 2023. I actually just recorded and published a video on setting goals and intentions for 2023, which is a real-time journaling exercise with me with 10 different journaling prompts. So you can sit down, you can take a piece of paper, and you can just, write down those questions and do these journalings together with me, as I'm doing them with you as well, and set these goals. Because honestly, I'm looking back, it's been kind of 5 years since I made the decision to start this business. I burned out in 2018, and I just wrote a post about this on my Instagram account as well. And, it's so crazy for me to look back over the last 4 years and see 4.5 years, you're right, and look at, wow, how much has actually changed in my life for the better, right? For the things that I set out to do, for the dreams that I had, for the goals that I had. And honestly, what helped me to get there and overcome these things that were getting in the way of achieving my goals? I checked in with myself and I kept myself accountable, and I had these goals and I pushed through, even though it was not always easy. As you can imagine, recording a podcast every single week for 4 years and a YouTube video for 4 years is, requires a lot of discipline. It requires to be focused. It requires to stay true to myself. It requires to stay true to my goals and to push through even when those feelings came up, when I thought to myself, well, especially at the beginning, maybe only 10 people were listening to my podcast, or only 5 people were watching my YouTube videos. And it's so worth it. It's so worth it to create these goals. And I really believe in accountability. It's so important. And I thank you for keeping me accountable, because I showed up here and I sat down every single week for you, because I knew that there are some people out there that are actually listening to my podcast every single week. And I wanted to show up for you, and I didn't want to disappoint you. And I wanted to show you, hey, it is possible, to even just sit down for 20 minutes or 30 minutes. Today I'm sitting in front of my Zoom recording, and I'm recording this as a video because I didn't feel like setting up my camera. I actually had to leave my tripod at the security check in Mexico because they saw it as a weapon, and so on and so on. So today, it was a little bit of a scramble to do this, but I got it done anyway because it's so important for me. And yeah, and I really wish that you find that way as well. And if you are needing a little bit more how-tos, I would obviously love to be here for you. Find motivation, inspiration in my YouTube videos, find inspiration and motivation in my Instagram posts. And if you need more, then come to that masterclass in January, and I'm going to share a little bit more, and we're going to get really, really clear on your vision of what you want to achieve in 2023 and what you need in order to get there. So I hope you join me there. That's all I wanted to share with you today. And yeah, I hope that when you're listening to this, you had a good start into the new year of 2023. And I really, really hope to see you in the masterclass, or on my Instagram account, or on my YouTube channel. So thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much maybe for watching. Hello there if you're watching this video. And yeah, thank you so much. I hope that you are well. Take care of yourself, and I talk to you really soon.